Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real World Blockchain Podcast, the podcast where we can hear about the blockchain industry and other technologies, and where you can hear, of course, how these technologies can help you fuel your business. Again, this episode is brought to you by Web3 Enabler, the only and first payment solution on Salesforce and cryptocurrencies. Hi, guys.
Hi, how are you?
Hey.
I'm terrific. So here today I have Niles, I have Zoe and Rebecca. You guys know them now. So let's talk about the first huge news that happened last week, the Bitcoin halving. Of course, this is not a scoop. This is not something that came as a surprise. We were all expecting that. But how could we make a podcast without talking about it? So are you guys excited about the halving?
Yes.
Right. So for our listeners, Niles, can you explain what the halving is?
Sure. It's programmatically built into the Bitcoin protocol, where roughly every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin awarded per block is halved. And people came up with a really clever naming, the halving. Initially,
Obviously.
it started out with 50 Bitcoins per block, went on to 25, and then it was 12.25, and now it is 6.125. And it's going to take another maybe like 160 years for us to effectively get to 0 awards per block. So it's still a lot of time. If you're up to it, go get a rig. Who knows?
Well, and that means that if Bitcoin keeps becoming more expensive compared to fiat currencies like dollar or euro, that's still worth it. That's still worth mining it. So that means that the system is mathematically sane. I mean, there are currencies that lasted less than 160 years. So if I'm being cynical, I mean that's interesting. But for our listeners, Bitcoin halvings are important events because for traders, they reduce the number of new Bitcoins being generated by the network. So that's usually correlated with a rapid increase of the network's price of the token's price. And funny thing, the transaction fees, I don't know if you guys saw that, but the transaction fees reached an all-time low just a few moments after the halving, so it didn't last for long. But have you guys read about that?
Didn't. That's really exciting. Tell me more.
Well, that means that the network is still at capacity, and that means that because of all the updates that happened on the network, despite the huge load and despite the numerous transactions that happen on a network every time there's a halving, because everyone wants to have a piece of that cake, that means that the network is still holding up. So it's probably not the cheapest one, but again, really, Bitcoin is like the old car that you see in the countryside. It's still functional even after 50 years. So we're probably going to see a lot of Bitcoin payments in 50 years. Probably not the majority of it, but that's still going to hold up probably because it's a very solid system. So that's quite a good thing. Now, the next halving is expected in 2028. So, dear listeners, let's meet again in 2028 and see if we are still here to talk about that. And as you said, Niles, the last Bitcoin will be mined in 2140. So that's the year when it's going to be mined. So, let's see if we're there again.
We got time.
We got time.
Enjoy the ride.
All right, and so another thing that that happened in the Bitcoin world recently is the update and the technology of Bitcoin runes. So some of you might know runes from the Viking lore, from the Scandinavian lore, but here in the world of cryptocurrencies and notably in Bitcoin, that's something completely different. Now, can you explain to us what this is?
Sure. To be honest, I can't really tell you why they went with runes, but it is another token standard that has been added to Bitcoin. It started out with ordinals, which is roughly an equivalent to an NFT, with an inscription on specific Satoshis, which is the smallest unit of Bitcoin. And then from there, the BRC20 standard was introduced that built on top of the Ordinals protocol. And now we have runes, which uses a different model based on UTXO or unspent transactions within the wallet to allow for another type of fungible token, where before the inscriptions were done on Satoshis, now it's being stored in a field within the actual wallet transaction, which is a little bit different, but has huge returns as far as on-chain footprint and how much actual data needs to be stored on-chain.
So that's quite interesting because it enables, so for our listeners, this enables the generation and transfer of fungible tokens directly on Bitcoin network. The BRC20 standard was already doing that, but this is a more efficient generation. Just for the numbers, just within the first 3 months of their implementation, BRC20 tokens reached a $1 billion market cap. So that's, the sign that was needed.
It sounds like a lot.
Yeah, that's of course, even on a big market like Bitcoin, that means that there's really a huge interest on that. And what's interesting now is that we can see that the ecosystem is still alive, and that it's not only here because there are many people trying to invest on it or betting on the halving. There are other things showing the health of the ecosystem. And so, have you guys bought Bitcoin runes? I tried myself, but Zoe?
Not
Rebecca?
yet.
Not yet. All right. So it's very simple. You choose a Bitcoin wallet compatible with runes, and one of the popular options is Xverse. We at Real World Blockchain do not have any shares in Xverse. It's just that I've been using the product, that's it. And the Runes protocol operates on the Bitcoin network, so you just have to have BTC then to send runes and to cover transaction fees, and that's yet another asset. So some people believe it's the future of the Bitcoin DeFi ecosystem. Be assured that we'll talk about it if that's the case. On to another news. We're going to talk about a blockchain that Niles, I know you're a bit fond of, which is Chainlink.
Just quick correction. Chainlink is not a blockchain.
Oh,
It
sorry.
is an Oracle network made up of multiple Oracle networks.
Okay, so please explain that for our listeners then. How come we have a Link token from time to time that you can buy, that some people buy from time to time?
Sure. Well, the Link token is an ERC20 issued on the Ethereum blockchain. And users use this to secure their nodes, which contribute to specific Oracle networks that essentially allows people to recognize that you have skin in the game and you are serious about participating and actually giving correct answers based on off-chain or maybe on-chain to another chain information. And that's essentially what Oracle networks do, is they bring on-chain data or off-chain data on-chain. And this allows for things such as decentralized applications to recognize when some sort of event has happened that is not on their own native chain.
All right, and so Chainlink basically announced one thing today, yesterday, sorry. They announced that their cross-chain interoperability protocol, the CCIP, is now made available to the public. So that means that developers can use it. And please explain to us what that means.
Yeah, we can sort of think about this as with the internet, there are common standards that we all use. Maybe we don't really realize because they are so standardized. And this allows for different operating systems, different programs, different browsers to talk to each other and receive the same information. And Chainlink is proposing and has released a cross-chain interoperability protocol that will allow for similar access and information transaction from different chains. And just like right off the bat, something that we can think about is with bridging. And when right now there are different protocols that we look at, and I think that we talked about like wormhole as one of them, maybe like an episode or two ago, where that's going to go and be another type of wormhole token on the target chain. And this allows for a common standard. Another thing is having an ability to actually have programmable token transactions, where based on a transaction on one chain, you can start executing code on another. And this is just a massive leap forward in as far as the interoperability of different chains, which we see something in like Cosmos with IBC. So it's like the inter-blockchain communication protocol that allows for token transfers and other things. But Chainlink is bringing this to a larger ecosystem where it's not IBC specific, and it could be blockchain agnostic.
So that's typically, well, in the blockchain's current zeitgeist, basically, we're having multiple people and companies and developers talking about how interoperable the market has to become and the ecosystems have to become in order to become more mainstream. So I'm very happy to hear about that. Zoe, Rebecca, what do you think about that news?
Yeah, I agree that, this really is what the community is all about and what the ecosystem development is all about. And the interoperability is just something that really drives that. And I'm excited for it as a builder. That's for sure.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Rebecca?
I agree. I think the disconnected nature of the space has been a big hurdle to overcome. So seeing like more collaborations or projects like this that allow for interoperability is key if we're ever going to reach mass adoption, if we're going to get close to a place where Web3 and blockchain is part of our daily lives. So it's really exciting and fun to kind of see this. And honestly, this has been, I've learned so much in the last few minutes. It's been amazing. I think maybe we need to start a little session where Niall's just like kind of gets us all up to speed on all this technical information.
Well, thank you so much. That's quite interesting indeed, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the market of data availability in blockchain scanning in general is going to bring in this industry. Because I have the feeling that every time there's an industry, there's also a sub-industry of all the services for the people working in this industry. And for our listeners, this is quite a huge market. Basically, being able to query the blockchain, to scan it, and to have a lot of data coming to your desk is very important. And there are multiple business applications, such as testing the state of an insurance contract, or the validity. Is an asset still not compromised in the real world? That's quite important. And
Nazi, have you ever thought about bringing crypto payments into a platform like Salesforce? Wouldn't that be such a great idea?
That would be indeed. We are absolutely.
Man, I really hope somebody's doing that.
As if there were a person. We should call it something like Web3 activator or something like that.
Yeah.
Rolls off the tongue.
Roll credits. All right, and to finish on a trivial note and on a funny note, thanks to Rebecca for the news. Another lawsuit. So we could have the scam of the week, and we could have the lawsuit of the week, because that's quite interesting. So there are so many of them that it's hard to count now. So there is a lawsuit from crypto lobbyists against the SEC over the definition of what a dealer is. So the SEC adopted a broadened definition of the word dealer that could capture crypto traders and that's why the Blockchain Association and Crypto Freedom Alliance of Texas has decided to sue the SEC. So, what do you guys think about that one?
Dealer? I barely know her. An officer, that's not mine.
That cryptocurrency. So we're of course talking about dealing with assets, but that's interesting because the suit alleges that the SEC did not engage with the feedback it received during the rules public comment period, and so actually it's not been done in good faith. So that's why the suit is filed in this perspective. The rules exclusive focus on the effects of trading. Because of that rule, the new definition of dealer will potentially also have a negative impact on all the digital asset markets participants, and that includes all the users. And that's interesting because then all the people in liquidity pools, so people who provide pools for the other users to buy and sell cryptocurrencies, to buy tokens, these people could be also then labeled as dealers, which would be complicated then, because that means that they would face the same regulations as huge companies with a different kind of firepower. What do you think about that point, Rebecca?
This feels a little bit like a deja vu to me. It's like we've had this discussion, haven't we? We've been here before, haven't we? Not specifically about defining what a dealer is, but the relationship between the SEC and the crypto world, right? They're constantly trying to define what it is. Oh, is it an asset or is it a security? Oh, how do we handle it? And we're still kind of having those same conversations. So this to me is just like, another branch that's like stemming from that same tree. So, and I don't think that's going to end. I think that we're going to see a lot more of these kind of lawsuits come up as the space expands until very clear guidelines are set onto like how to manage this situation. And I'm not even sure that the SEC is really equipped to kind of make those decisions and decide what those guardrails are, because the reality is like, I'm not confident that they truly understand the space or how these things work. And part of it is that it's very new and that we're all still figuring it out, right? But they're not necessarily willing to do that, to come along for the ride and figure it out with us. So it's funny and it's interesting, and I'm sure we're going to see more of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We're definitely going to see more.
That's a very tough world indeed, because every little evolution, every little change in the market is going to displease many, many people, and at the same time, it's also going to be scary for some people who had vested interests and who could lose everything. So there's a huge ethical debate, and the legislator has to be very subtle in order to do a proper job with proper work ethics and to address problems without creating new problems, which is usually what legislators do not do. They usually create more problems than what they solve because they are necessarily a bit late compared to the technology, which is rapidly evolving. This is not a libertarian rant. This is just a factual testimonial. It's just that it's hard to make a law when the law takes 6 months to be written and the technology becomes obsolete in just 3 months. So that's kind of, being a legislator is probably a very hard job in this regard.
I wouldn't do it.
Sure. And
I'm happy that you wouldn't do it. Otherwise, I'd be scared.
For sure.
yeah, and also I think that we need to look beyond just the crypto implications of this. And having the SEC come out and have a definition of dealer where, how does this affect other secondary markets, not just related to crypto? But if you are in the business of going and thrifting and then you resell that, are now you a dealer? Are you going to have to register? If you're a collector of baseball cards or comic books or whatever, if you go and start reselling things through a yard sale, like where does it end if what is a dealer is so encompassing that it covers something that might not traditionally be considered a security, but because of how it's interpreted now for crypto falls under that category. And that's just something that like I am thinking about when these other rulings come out, where it's not just us, and we're not just doing this for crypto. This is something that we as a society and as an economy need to be thinking about.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and I feel like regulatory bodies would really benefit from a little brainstorming session with Mr. Niles to kind of get some fresh eyes and some fresh perspectives, and also to help them like make those connections that you just made, which are I think really good and really valid. So maybe if you're listening, I know him personally. I can make an intro. Just hit me up.
Well, thank you, Rebecca.
I agree. Yeah, and I think because of this, there's a lot of emphasis on the importance of citizen interaction and grassroots involvement, because by nature it involves everyone, and in many ways at a whole new level that's kind of distinctive from other areas that would also also benefit from grassroots involvement, but just not quite as directly, I suppose.
Power to the people.
Fascinating. Thank you so much, everyone. As usual, I had a great time because every time I hear you bring interesting thoughts and putting that on the table, and that's very pleasant intellectually. Everyone, this was another episode of Real World Blockchain, brought to you by Web3 Enabler, the first and only payment solution in cryptocurrencies on Salesforce, and soon many other CRMs. Follow us on social media, yada yada. See you next week.